Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with another episode of the Shot Town Sports Podcast. It's been a little while, but we have returned. Not a crazy lot to talk about, but there is today, and we will have a long episode for you guys. It is the 30th episode, so I just want to say really quickly, thank you for all the support. Ben and I really appreciate it. On the road to 20 subs, one more sub and we'll be at 20. We don't publicize it a lot. We don't make it a huge concern. We just do it for fun, but support always helps. The first topic that we're going to be talking about today is the NBA lottery. Who won? Who lost? Ben, who won, in your opinion?
I think that. Here, give me a sec. Hey, let me mute real. All right, I muted myself really quick, but I think that the obvious winners of this lottery are the Timberwolves, and I think I'm pretty happy with how it shaked out for the Chicago Bulls. Honestly, you could say that we everyone thought we'd get the 7th pick like we have for the past 3 years.
Hornets as well. The Hornets are at 3. Are you kidding me?
I know.
They're in prime position to get Anthony Edwards here, which is who I mean we're targeting.
Yeah, but I think the Bulls have to be happy. I think obviously the Timberwolves have their choice. I don't know who the Timberwolves. Who do you think? LaMelo?
Oh, it's LaMelo.
I mean, they already have D'Angelo.
Okay, but LaMelo can play 1 or 2, and the league is different now. D'Angelo can play 1 or 2 as well. The T-Wolves, they need to make a splash. They need a big name guy.
I could see either Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball going.
I could see Anthony Edwards. I could see it. But in my opinion, top 3 will be as follows. LaMelo, number 1. James Wiseman to the Warriors, of course. I think that's set in stone 100%. And then the Hornets will be taking Anthony Edwards. That's my top 3. I think a lot of people can agree on that. I can see Anthony Edwards going 1, LaMelo going 3, but I don't know. I really like the Warriors on James Wiseman.
And I think you have to say the losers might be the Hawks, who fell to 6th. The Cavs wouldn't have liked to be 5th. But I don't think there was a huge faller. I think
the New York Knicks were a huge faller.
Oh yeah, the Knicks. Yeah.
They were supposed to be top 4, top 5, correct?
They should have been, I think, 4th.
That's huge. That's really, really
going down to 8th. Not what you want for New York.
I will say though, the top 8. There's a big difference from 8th and 9th. Of course, there'll probably be a random pick in the top 8. There usually is, but just something to point out there. This year's top 8 is kind of set in stone. Oneke, Obi, this is off the top of my head. Denny Advasia, Isaac Okoro, Anthony LaMelo, James Wiseman, and then there's one more I'm forgetting.
Maybe Killian Hayes.
Maybe it's 7 then. Because I've seen Killian Hayes going 5, and I've seen him going like 15th. So
yeah.
All right, I guess it's 7, but regardless, I think they're definitely lost in this NBA draft lottery. Some teams always do. So we're going to talk now about the Chicago Bulls. It was a fabulous draft lottery for them. 4th overall pick is huge. We missed out on the top 3, understandable. But still, I'm very happy with the 4th pick. And I'm very happy with what we could do with that 4th pick. Because I have been saying all along, I don't want us to pick. I don't like this draft class very much. I think Isaac Okoro is really the only player I can see ever starting on the Bulls from this draft class. So I mean, a long-term starter. So I really want us to trade this pick. And someone I've been talking about is Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal for the 4th pick, maybe Otto Porter, another first-round pick in the future. I'd do that 100%.
I'm just gonna note that Bradley Beal is the 2nd worst defensive player in the NBA by metrics. He scores a lot, but I don't know if the Bulls need another kind of gunning player who doesn't really play any defense. Not the best passer. I wouldn't love Bradley Beal personally. I could see why you want him, but that's just my take on that.
And that's completely fair. I agree with that 100%. Another player that has some defense and is a very strong defensive player, DeMar DeRozan.
That'll be slightly more intriguing.
And we probably wouldn't have to give up as much for him. Give up this pick. Spurs can easily draft Denny Advasia, someone who I think they love, and they're not in a position to get at 11. I think they're looking to trade up. We trade this 4th pick, maybe just that for DeMar DeRozan, 100% for it. because Kobe White's a scorer. Zach LaVine can do both, but he's primarily a scorer. Lauri Markkanen, primarily offense. Wendell Carter's defense, but having a very strong small forward that can play offense and defense at a high level is going to be key if we're going to want to make a championship run in the next few years. And DeMar DeRozan isn't that old. He is, I think, 29 years of age. He is
30 at this point.
A few more years.
Yeah, he's a little old, but I think the Bulls definitely got a good lottery. This is a chance for Arturas and Mark Easley. This is their chance to really do something well.
I was watching him. He was just lighting up. He was so excited.
Well,
by the way, his contract, he has one more year left on that contract. So we'll see. If Arturas wants to make a big splash in free agency, maybe go for Anthony Davis, then maybe we hold off on that. Draft Isaac Okoro, but I really like Isaac Okoro, but at 4, I feel like we could get an all-star level player with some veteran experience, which I think we need. Next topic is going to be the NBA playoffs, of course, what everyone's talking about right now. Going to be starting off talking about the Bucks, the Blazers-Lakers showdown. Luka getting hurt in last night's game. Kawhi having a fabulous 36-point game. And Paul George struggling. Ben, what do you want to start out with?
Let's start just with the 8 versus 1 seeds. I think everyone was shocked when the Magic beat the Bucks in Game 1. I think the Bucks were shocked. I think it was a wake-up call. Game 2, they really got out strong. They had a huge lead early on. The Magic tried to make it a good game, but couldn't, and I think that's what the Bucks needed to do. Giannis has been playing really, really well. He's combined for 59 points in the first 2 games and 37 rebounds. So he's been kind of dominating the Magic. I think they need Chris Middleton to really step up, though. In the last game, he only had 2 points. That's not going to cut it against top teams. So while they did win against the Magic, I think they'll win in 5 games. I think this is all about getting Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, and Brook Lopez to start stepping up.
And I completely agree with that. I think you're 100% right. These championship teams, they always have that depth. They've always had those second and third reserve or star players step up. You see that first guy last year with Kawhi, but you have his support players. You have Fred VanVleet step up.
Pascal.
You have Marc Gasol have a very underrated playoffs. Pascal had a great playoffs, and just all those bench guys. Just Danny Green was on that team, correct? Danny Green.
Your guy Kyle Lowry.
And now Danny Green sucks. Kyle Lowry, of course, cannot forget him. He played a lot of shooting guard, though, so it wasn't his primary spot. And then Fred VanVleet split time at point guard. But regardless, I completely agree with that. Milwaukee currently has a 91% chance to win from BPI. Moving on to the West 1 versus 8, we have the Lakers and the Blazers. Probably the most watched series, if I had to guess, honestly, just because it's been prime time almost every time they've played. Lakers after Game 2 have an 82% chance to win from BPI. Ben, you think the Blazers can pull this off?
Well, I think the Blazers could pull it off. I'm a little less confident than I was, I'd say, 2 days ago, with Damian Lillard dislocating his finger. I think that he will be able to play in Game 3, but we'll see how it affects him. That'll be a huge part of the series if he's able to play up to full strength. He'll need to probably score 35 a game for the Blazers to really have a chance to win the series. CJ McCollum will have to keep playing well. Zach Collins is out for the year now, so they're once again down to just Nurkic and Whiteside. But I think the Blazers –
I have a lot to say about Whiteside.
We'll let you speak about Whiteside in a minute. I think the Blazers could pull this off, but I think I'm pretty sure the Lakers will win this series at this point.
And I agree with that. I think Damian getting hurt was definitely big, but I also just think the Lakers getting their confidence back, winning by a score of 111 to 88. That was really, really big. I want to talk really quickly about Hassan Whiteside. I was on Twitter yesterday, and I saw this clip of him. I did not watch Game 2. I watched Game 1, but I did not watch Game 2. Of Hassan Whiteside shooting the ball, missing it, just standing there like, what the heck, and then just slowly turning back. And I remember watching Game 1. I watched the game versus the Nets. He was not going as hard as he should be. Sure, you could have those past accolades he has. You could be an all-star at one point. You could be a key player on a good team, but his effort is just, he just does not care. And I know the Heat got rid of him because of personality and mental issues because he was just mad. He was like, what the heck, if I'm not the star, well, what am I? I don't think that's the mindset you need to have. So
Yeah.
I really think that's also affecting the Blazers. Sure, it's a small part, but you need those bench guys to really get hot. And someone said it's nowhere near hot right now. Let's go to the 2 and 7s. We'll start in the West. Clippers are leading the Mavericks 2-1. BPI has the Clippers only having a 60% win.
That's
After
really
game 2, excuse me. I had to look into that a little bit more. It's after game 2, so disregard that. Clippers up 2-1. It's probably near 90 or 85 now. You just mentioned that Kawhi's been playing strong as we all expected. Paul George, though, is not. Playoff P has been called. So Ben, you wanna talk about this series for a little bit?
Let's talk about playoff P. I was watching. It was pretty funny. I was watching TNT or highlights from TNT's halftime show. Chuck and Shaq were really making a lot of fun of Paul George. I felt bad for Paul George, but I do think he needs to step up. Really struggling right now. First game against Dallas, 27 points on decent shooting, but the past 2 games he's gone 7 for 33 from the field.
He's been taking a lot of shots. Yeah.
He's taking a lot of shots and he's not scoring a lot of points. I think that he needs to focus on distributing the ball a little more. He only had 2 assists in game 2 and 3 assists in game 1. And he needs to just attack the hoop more. He's settling for a lot of contested threes, a lot of middies that aren't as easy, and he needs to just let the game come to him. That's what everyone says all the time, but that's how Kawhi dominates. He just lets the game come to him. He picks his spot and he goes to it. And I think Paul George could look at his teammate and just see how to succeed in the playoffs.
I 100% agree with that. Great analogy there, Ben. Or not analogy, comparison. I want to talk about the Eastern Conference Super 7 with the Raptors Nets. Series looks over. The
This
Nets
is not a series.
Raptors are 3-0, won somewhat easily in every game except game 2 where it was 5 points, but I think that series is over. We're going to move on to the 16 now. Celtics 76ers. The Celtics are 3-0. I thought this series would be a little bit more contested. Of course, Ben Simmons is out.
That's huge.
But Embiid is just not up to par. He had 30 points in game 3, but he's going to need to do more than that.
I want to say something about Embiid. So I was watching the highlights of the game, and in game 3, which was a must-win game for the Sixers, they're up 94-92 with the ball and about 1:20 left on the clock, and Embiid just toss it away. Fast break, Jaylen Brown gets fouled, gets the N1, and that was the killer. Embiid just made a horrible decision, terrible pass. He made a few of them in the game. He just needs to make better decision making, and I just don't think the Sixers have it this year without Ben Simmons.
Me neither.
I think the Celtics will advance in maybe 4 games.
I was on TikTok yesterday, and I was watching a mad 76ers fan rant about Elton Brand. He was criticizing every move Elton Brand had made, everything. And I think Elton Brand is to blame.
Partially.
But I think they need to change the scenery. And what I'm saying by that is a new coaching staff, some new organization guys, or girls. But I just think the Sixers need to change it up. They've had kind of this trust the process system in. Of course, they brought in a new coach, Brett Brown, fired their old general manager. But I think they've been going down this path, and they had those exciting moments, beating these big teams, having these big runs in the playoffs. I wouldn't say big runs, but close runs against good teams in the second round. I don't think they made the third round yet. Am I right on that? They've only advanced. Yes.
You're so close last year.
4-7 to the Raptors. That's what I'm referring to. I didn't remember the specific until then. But yeah, the Sixers, if I was a Sixers fan, I would not be happy right now. And that's all I'm going to say on that. I'm going to go on to the 3 versus 6 in the West. The Jazz leading the Nuggets 2-1. I think the Nuggets could definitely come back. I haven't seen enough of Jokic as I expected. Of course, they got Gary Harris back. But game one was crazy. An overtime game. Nuggets pulled it out in overtime, though. In the last two games, it's been all Jazz. Really been all Jazz. Locked in on offense and defense. Mike Conley's been balling out after the birth of his son. Left the bubble, returned for game three, started and put on a show. Ben, what are your comments on this series?
Well, I think Mike Conley really changes the series. I didn't know how long he'd be out, so I thought I had the Nuggets easily winning this series beforehand. But the Jazz lost one in overtime, and they've demolished the Nuggets in the other two games. Mike Conley comes back for game three, sets the Jazz franchise record for most threes in a game in the playoffs. And I think the Jazz are rolling right now. I think the Nuggets could come back. They're definitely talented enough. Jamal Murray will need to play a little bit better. Jokic needs to play a little bit better. The entire supporting cast has to play a little bit better. I mean, they're getting blown out, so they're doing something wrong. And I think you got to ask questions. I mean, this Jazz team hasn't had the most impressive year. They've been a little disappointed. 6 seeds, not the greatest. But I think they could do some damage with their full lineup back, except for Bogdan Bogdanovic. So I think that they could win this series.
I agree with that. I mean, team morale coming back from losing an overtime game one, having the 3 seed or the 3 seeds higher than you, winning that type of game, just defeating you morally and mentally. But I think Mike Conley definitely provides a lot of veteran leadership and a lot of energy at that point guard position. We're going to move on to the Houston Rockets and OKC Thunder series. The Rockets, of course, lead 2-0 without Russell Westbrook. Rockets have looked sharp. I'm not going to lie. The Rockets have looked very good. I don't have much to say other than that. The Rockets have looked sharp. I think they pull out this series. Might take a 5th game, but I think Rockets definitely win this. Ben?
So I'm receiving a phone call. I'll just ignore it for now.
From who? From who?
Tim Wietzen.
Oh.
But I will. So what I'm gonna. I was gonna say the Thunder. I predicted them to fall the 7th seed beforehand. I didn't think they had what it took to really succeed in the playoffs. So I'm not. I think I've been right about that. I think the Rockets look really good. If the Lakers advance, I think the Rockets, that's a bad matchup, going against Anthony Davis without a real weapon to defend him. So I think that they'll lose that series, but I do think they look good. I'm concerned about Chris Paul. He played really well in this season, but in Game 2, he was a minus 37 in 36 minutes. That was his plus minus.
I think he's gassed. I've been saying it
gassed.
for a while. I think this is coming to the end of his career.
Yeah, he had a great year, though, but I think the playoffs have been not so great so far for him, and I think the Rockets will probably win this series in 5.
I agree with that. I want to move on. So probably the series I've been paying most attention to, the Miami Heat and the Indiana Pacers. Ben loves to talk about the Heat. I love to talk about the Heat as well, since I have the Heat advancing to the NBA championship. I might change that up if I have the right to after another series, but for now I have them there.
I'm just gonna
Okay.
keep talking, Brett. I'll listen. But
Duncan Robinson hit 7 threes as the best player for Maine in history, as many people say. I just like to point that out. Ben will like to hear that, even though he's not currently on the call. I think the Heat win this series. They play today, the Heat and the Pacers, at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. I think without Victor Oladipo, the Pacers don't have someone to lock up Jimmy Butler and to put up a fight against Jimmy Butler. And I think that's the difference. Jimmy Butler hasn't been amazing, but he's been giving the ball out to Duncan Robinson a lot more. He's been getting everyone else involved, which I think is really, really huge. And I think people underestimate that a lot. Just because their star player isn't putting up amazing numbers doesn't mean he's not playing well. He's getting his teammates involved, and he's getting those role players hot. And I really like the Heat right now. I think they win the series in 4, closing out these last 2 games. Ben, I know you have some thoughts on this series. Go ahead. Ben?
lagging. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thoughts on Heat Pacers?
Okay. So what I think right now, first off, Duncan Robinson I think he's been great, and they're not playing in the fourth quarter, which I'm confused by. Just had to mention that. I want Eric Spoelstra to play him in the fourth quarter. I think the Heat look really good this year. That's a team that could contend for a series win over the Bucks. I think they'll easily beat the Pacers. They're the better team, and I could see them beating the Bucks. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, done said it there. I have had them beating the Bucks, and with you saying that might boost my confidence a little bit more. For our final topic, I'm just going to point out, sad to see the Blackhawks go home. That was a few days ago, but we've not made a podcast episode since then. I don't want to talk about that too much, though. I think that was kind of expected. I want to talk about the Chicago Cubs. Played great so far this year. Ben and I have been excited, been watching most of the games. Last 6 or 7 days, though, have not been the prettiest. I'm not going to lie. They dropped down to a 640 percentage, 16-9 overall record. We were the number one team in baseball for a few days.
My Wi-Fi is so bad, Mom. So bad.
But now they're ranked 4th in baseball, beyond the Yankees, A's, and Dodgers. Ben, are you here? Ben? Having some Wi-Fi issues from Ben. I'm just going to keep going. They lost 10-1 in the Crosstown Classic versus the White Sox yesterday. Luis Robert putting on a show. Oh, and now we play all spin, so you can just see me. But yeah, I mean, Cubs getting a little bit. Not too worried though. There are always some slumps. There are always some high points in baseball. Really need to get it closer here from trades, waivers, free agency, whatever it may take. The Cubs need it closer. Ben is back. I'm going to add into the stream here, and we will talk more Cubs. Ben, let's talk some Cubs. What are your thoughts?
I think the Cubs, they start off so hot that we all got excited. I think they're coming back to earth little. I think this was expected. They're not the best team in the MLB, but they are a playoff team in my mind. Got to work on the rotation a little bit. Hopefully Baez and Bryant start hitting better. But I think if we can tune things up, I think we should take the division. We have a really big lead, so all we got to do is kind of play 500 baseball, which I think we can do. And I think the Cubs will make the playoffs this year.
We don't have a very hard schedule, and I think we need to capitalize on that. Compared to these other teams, we have it quite easy. So I expect the Cubs to make the playoffs, and I agree with you. Thank you guys for another episode. Ben, we got to get your Wi-Fi issues under control.
It was all good for 15 minutes, and then it just fell apart.
Fell apart at around the 20-minute mark. But we'll see you guys back shortly. We probably will not have as long of a break. I expect maybe 2 days. We'll wait till this NBA first round games of action are over. Then we'll talk again, second round predictions, talk about the longer series. I expect Jazz Nuggets will be a longer series.
Mavs Clippers maybe
as well. So yeah, we'll talk about that in the next episode. But thank you guys again. 30th episode. Peace.